Hi, we're here today in the writing shed to do a reading, and I'm with Joanna Cameron, and she is a filmmaker, narrator, author, and poet. And she is here to read today Orla, who is the heroine in the series and in Weather War. Thanks.
Thank you, Jim. Orla received her requested profile from Ancestry.com. Her DNA test results came in and turned out to contain a long list of colourful lineages, including one king. Not from Ireland, but Sweden. In the 12th century, Magnus Ladulus had grown fond of Irish women, taking one for his wife. In time, spreading branches grew up and about with many family names, stretched to include the likes of Sweeney, Roscommon, O'Kelly, and Wicklow. Tracing the lines through time, Orla discovered her relatives in 19th century County Cork. One such lass, her namesake, attended a prominent boarding school, Crook Court Manor. It was a bright brick building that stood beside a rushing narrow river. Rows of heavy windows dominated the detailed facade, where tall chimney stacks were embellished with intricate masonry. A massive high Gothic door stood sentry. Ushering in the elongated main structure, there were two small fountains with angels standing as bookends, rising next to the stonework stairs. The walls were awash in a pale green paint and bordered with brightly coloured roses. Orla felt that the Steadfast School seemed to stretch forever. More windows faced out, back towards the bluffs and cliffs. It was here, above the little river racing through the valley, where children played during recess. The curious hillsides behind the school offered a perfect playground, and the rocky peaks were worn steep and grey by time's relentless predations. These distinctive rocky ridges provided caves aplenty and an occasional mountain goat or stray horse. Weather permitting, all the healthy children spent several hours of recess in the hills, and most played some after hours. Lively laughter and shouts of excitement echoed down the two dominating and round green hills which led up to the cliffs. The vistas of the Irish rolling countryside were dreamlike. Traditionally, the children celebrated each Saint's Day with music, song, food and crafts. During outings, the boys would flirt with Orla and the other girls by tapping on an ear or chasing them through the hedgerows in the gardens. Boys played with girls much rougher then. On occasion, pushing and teasing escalated and mushroomed into fights. More than one boy went home bruised from a girl winning a scrape, and Orla won her share. On Fridays after school, a smaller group made up of Orla and friends trekked over to a nearby barn. It was here that play was tested to the maximum. The merry gang would swing and jump from the rafters using long ropes tied to huge beams. Landing softly in the hay bales, they would shout for joy and chase around the barn or climb up to the rafters to start all over again. It was that sassy boy, Sean McGregor, who tried to pull her pigtails or tackle and kiss her while pinned. Mostly she was too fast in her light frame. However, she would deliberately get caught and kissed, while other times she would even linger. Education was peachy at Crook Court. Several youthful and older ladies worked as proctors and schoolmarms. Many of the women lodged in nearby estates or lived on local farms. They taught and lectured in the ancient Greek style, but with memorization and recitals thrown in. These were happier times after the two Irish potato famines. Several good growing seasons left farmers with plentiful potatoes and abundant grains. Little is mentioned about Orla's parents or siblings. Time marched on like an angry sailor, and she obtained a position at Muckross House, Killarney in County Kerry. It's mentioned that some of her family moved in with her, also obtaining work and lodging. Even then, Muckross was known for its weavers and knitters. Orla found work as a clothier and shared a cot by sleeping in shifts with one of the candle makers. All the girls attended Crook Court. Estate administrators were adamant that their employees should be educated and come from old ties families. Arthur Guinness, the brew magnate, bought the manor with all its properties late in the 19th century and wanted to embellish and refine the manor's enterprises. Keeping with traditions, Muckross House has always continued to be a favourite traveller's destination in the resplendent Irish countryside. Grand parties have been held at Muckross, one even after the Queen of England stayed there, afterward announcing, "It was adequate but impoverished." Known for its wonderful woodwork and window treatments, the gardens and grounds were also gracious and wondrous. An invite to Muckross House was coveted treasure for any Irish person. The grand balls and formal dinners were held on Saturday nights, some lasting till dawn. Men had tailored suits from London, and the women wore handmade gowns fashioned in Killarney. It had long been an Irish tradition for the women to hand-stitch artfully splendid garments and pass them down to relatives. Such was the case with Orla's fortunate relations. Something happened in childhood to Orla during a life-changing episode. It's changed her forever. Let's let Orla tell the story in her own words. Every summer, our loving family took holidays in the beguiling English countryside. We toured fascinating gardens and mysterious forests while relishing the fortnights. My mother was worried for my frail health. She had good reason after my bout with whooping cough, leaving me weak and scared. Death visited when both of my parents were grieving and thinking that I had died. Afterward, I could only see mouths move, but couldn't comprehend the words. My naturally curly chestnut locks drooped straight, and I waited till my early teens for my hair to curl again. However, by around the age of 8, I became acutely aware of an evil entity, an unwanted tenant inside my body. The inky mass nestled in my stomach's pit. It was ill-tempered, a bully, and loathsome. I was constantly afraid that at any time it would devour me. Early one morning, my father rousted me for another family carriage ride through the idyllic English landscape. I remember being gripped by a terrifying malaise and feeling my end time near. My sister and I sat in the back of the rig with my parents in the front and father at the reins. Everyone sensed a friction, and the horses seemed testy. They kept sneaking a peek at me and showing me teeth. As we came on a meadow of summer wildflowers, my sycophant erupted with the fury of a tyrant. My father was a proud and powerful man who had sailed the spice route for the India Trading Company, making a tidy sum on cinnamon and nutmeg. So before a hike down to the river Test to go fly fishing, I desperately plucked up the courage to address my father and to point to where the elemental was located in the center of my stomach. He asked what color it was, and I explained that it resembled ink. I am sure that he had come upon some mystical healings during his travels the vast Indian Ocean. He began to flail his arms around while I joined him for the purpose of getting the restless glob's attention. It was then he shouted with a sea pilot's authority, "Pull it out of your body." I remember it leaving me with a tug and a kick. There was a songbird, a thrush. My stomach changed from dark to light, and a feeling of well-being overtook me, quickly followed by an overwhelming rush of relief. Love conquered fear. Back at the sacred, let's leave it there. I'll read it one more time, but it was quite good.
I think that's, and you covered all of it. Did you shut it off?
Love conquered fear. No, yeah.